Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Krebs, and all of our witnesses today, thank you for being here. I'm a firm believer that before any problem can be addressed, we need to find out where the responsibility lies. As we all know, much of the administration of U.S. elections is explicitly delegated to the states through the Elections Clause of the Constitution. And before we turn to what's being done at state level to protect the integrity of our elections, I believe it's necessary to ensure that the Federal House is in order. The findings of our nation's intelligence agencies and the House Committee on Intelligence leave no doubt that Russia maliciously attempted to influence our elections. Clearly, we need to right the ship on the federal level to ensure Russia and other harmful actors cannot repeat that behavior. Unfortunately, the President's recent comments at the U.S.-Russia summit in Helsinki failed to hold Putin accountable for his attacks on our country's interests and deter him from future indiscretions. I believe deterring a foreign adversary from meddling in our elections and disrupting the malign actions of a foreign adversary should be a federal responsibility. Can you assure us that the Department of Homeland Security is doing everything in its power actively to safeguard our nation from the kind of meddling that we now know has occurred in the past, including the hacking of our campaigns by Russian intelligence officers?
Yes, ma'am. This is one of our top priorities.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Secretary. Shifting to the topic of security clearances of state officials, is it necessary for every state to have an official with a security clearance?
It's certainly useful in the event we need to share information, but we do have the ability to provide one-day read-ins. If there is a very tactical piece of intelligence where I needed to share with someone in New Mexico or Utah, I could do that using local resources.
Thank you. So what is DHS doing to declassify cyber threat indicators to allow for more widespread and timely information sharing?
So we work very closely with the intelligence community to define not just what the information of interest for this community would be, but also help get a better understanding of what their infrastructure looks like, and so that can go help inform collection. And then through that process, we can actually identify additional intelligence and then start pushing that into the declassified space. One thing I'll note, ma'am, is that in 2016, when the Department of Homeland Security knocked on the doors of state secretaries and election officials, and they said, "I've never talked to you before, there's no trust here, but I got a problem that you need to know about." Anyone by very nature would probably say, "I'm going to need to know a little bit more information." And the response at the time, because it was classified, was, "I'm sorry, I can't share that with you." Two things have happened since then. One, we have established that level of trust. So if someone in New Mexico does not have a clearance, and yet I work with Secretary Toulouse-Oliver and I knock on the door and said, "Hey, we have a problem. It's classified, I need you to do something," I think, my guess is that the level of acceptance has changed a little bit. But at the same time, we are more sophisticated in our information sharing protocols. We are more sophisticated in our ability to declassify information and take action on, and it is all based on trust. We have spent so much time building relationships, building trust with these state and local election officials, that we are much more effective than we were even a year ago.
Thank you, Mr. Krebs. I think you have made us feel a lot better about the situation as it exists now. And so we appreciate the effort that you and your colleagues have put into it. Ms. Toulouse-Oliver, were you able to obtain a federal security clearance?
Yes, ma'am.
You were. And how many officials in your state have a security clearance for election-related purposes?
I have that clearance, and 2 of my key staff have that clearance as well.
Thank you. Mr. Krebs has described a change in behavior and trust level. So has information sharing between DHS and your office improved from your perspective since you are granted a security clearance?
I believe that communication has improved in general. I don't think it came as a result of the clearance, but I do think that contributes to our level of confidence that we will be able to get accurate and timely information.
Right. One more quick question, Mr. Chairman, if I could. How much, do you have an idea of how much information disseminated from DHS and the federal government is considered classified or sensitive? Any
In the
estimate?
election space specifically?
Well, either one of you.
My sense is that, quite frankly, there isn't all that much. It would only be if there was a situationally specific piece of information that needed to be conveyed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.